Hi Peter, and let's break down your animations. So, I really like your animation, it's very stylized. So let's break down the movement and decide what we can change to make it even better. So, in terms of spacing, I would like to talk about the splash, and in terms of the overall design, I would like to talk about this moment at the top. So I really like the overall design of the motion, but I'd say that you can emphasize and exaggerate the motion here at the top more, because the tail is still catching up with the shape, but the shape itself is not changing and it's not moving. So what you can do instead is you can either add more changes to the volume here to emphasize that this mass is catching up and influence this mass more, therefore stretching it or extending it, or you can move it more. So instead of having it stay still at one spot, you can, for example, have it start faster here, so it still moves here, for example, it moves for 1 or 2 frames, slows down, and then slows down in the direction of the motion, and then starts going down, for example in a spiral. So it transfers this momentum, this forward circular momentum, it sort of slows down and accelerates and goes down, or it dissipates this power and starts going down in this way. So either by changing the volume, or either you can do it by adding some spacing and working with speed. It's all the same. Well, it would look different, but it's kind of two different solutions to this problem. In terms of additional layers, I'd say that you can make the highlights brighter to make it appear more interesting in motion, and you can even make it flicker if you want. This will make it much more interesting. Maybe not as bright, but clearly brighter. There are several very good references for water design and animation in the chat, so you can use one of those. We can either change the outline at the bottom to emphasize the light passing through the water, or you can take some references and use it to find interesting shapes for the highlights as well. There were some very great scenes. For example, let me grab it. For example, like this. A very good example as well. More simplistic designs would be something from Children of the Sea. Not very simplistic, but a bit. So having this kind, it will make it slightly more interesting, and pushing the contrast will make it more interesting as well. You need to sell this as highlights, and highlights are generally way lighter and brighter than the water itself. And this will make the effect much more interesting, especially if you play and stylize it as much as you do with the overall spacing and the shapes. It will look very good in motion. And especially this frame, as this is one of the most crucial frames, you can emphasize the change with the highlights as well. So you can really spend the time and think about the forms here. How do you want this water to look? Maybe there is a different source of light here. maybe there's directional light here. Maybe we can come up with something more interesting here. And I can always add some flares and stuff like that in post effects. For example, something like this. Let's push the contrast even more with the water. A bit too much. The point is that the longer the frame is present on screen, the more interesting and well thought out it should be in terms of design and placement. I don't know, maybe something like this. And of course you can add something in post and add some blurs to it to make it fit better to the screen and to the style of your animations. So just as an example, so aside from that, the splash. So the overall spacing here is okay. Again, you can play a bit more with the form, the shape of the tail. I really like the design of the initial frame and this frame. The only thing is that the frames after that breaks the arc a bit. So the overall arc of the motion seems something like this, but it goes more like this. So as you can see, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see the problem here. It goes straight and then it goes straight. There is not much of an arc going down here. What we can do is we can exaggerate it more, then it will work a bit better, but still we need to make it more of an arc. And if it's going like this, it would go somewhere like this. And to make it a steeper arc, we can push this further away, then have a considerable slowdown, So instead of making it like this, we can make it 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. The top point, downwards movement, the head. So really exaggerate the spacing here and have a considerable slowdown, and then start exaggerating it. As you can see, there is not much of a slowdown here, considerably, and then it goes and transitions to a different shape. And again, it's kind of bigger in volume here, and it doesn't emphasize the direction, which is very important for limited animation. So it is pointed in the direction of the motion here, but it's just around here, and it's not the top point, it's downwards movement. The same problem with the sides. So it goes and clearly goes to the side. Again, not enough slowdown, still not enough slowdown, and it already goes down. As you can see, there is not much slowdown here, and we can really exaggerate it to make it look better, or so we can either make it realistic and finish this arc as it goes straight down at the moment. So you see it goes straight down, it doesn't have an arc. Or we can exaggerate it and make it more of a steeper angle by having a more exaggerated spacing. So really slow it down here and start really bringing it back. Or you can go for more realistic scene, and then you'd have to follow the arc to its finest. That means you need to slow down at this frame further, because it still goes up. You see it still goes up here, this form, and then it suddenly goes down. So if you are striving for more realistic animation for the splash, you'd have to add an in-between frame between these to have something like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on. The same thing with the water motion. If you want to follow the motion correctly, it should go to the side more and continue the motion longer. So it should go more to the side following the initial arc, and this thing essentially gives off the initial arc, and it should follow that, maybe even more. And then this mass, should also push to the sides more and transfer all this water here and slow down. You need to pay attention to the holes as you go. So you see, here it starts going down a bit too early, so it should go here, become larger maybe, and start going down. As here it kind of moves to the side and not really moving down. And it's the same with the droplets. Pay attention to the spacing. They kinda slow down, then they kinda accelerate, and then they fall straight down. Not following the arc, completely disregarding it. So the same problem with the additional shapes. It's kind of disregarding the arc and the motion a bit too much. So it would probably expand as it goes, and at the top as well. So this mass will also expand, leaving the particles here maybe a bit behind or in front, depending how you want it to move. So yeah, overall a very good animation. Hope you can finish it this week and wish you good luck. Don't forget to add a bit more frames for the water, fix the splash, and hope to hear from you soon. Wish you good luck.